All right.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good to see you.
We are here in the Bay, and I know you love life on the water.
Yeah.
So let's start with your most exciting, fun, or silly story on the water.
Ever?
Most recently. Or honestly,
no.
or ever.
No,
Give me a couple.
No, not ever. No, the most recently is my husband and I are trying to learn a hobby together.
Yeah.
And so we're learning how to deep sea fish together.
Okay.
And sometimes there's a bunch of us, but a lot of times it's just he and I.
Yeah.
And, now that we're in our 50s and hopefully a little bit more grown up.
Sure.
And establishing, married 20 years, but establishing kind of the rules of the boat, if you will. I don't allow any yelling on my boat. I'm neurodivergent and I don't like yellers.
Totally.
And so usually when you're out there with a bunch of boys and the lines are running and the boys are all rolling and like, get the fish in, get the fish in. And like, blah, 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 gaff it. And it's like so crazy. And I don't like that. So I'm just like, no yelling. And so he's trying not to yell. And then I don't like, when we get the fish, and I also don't like to gaff the fish.
Nothing
either.
like a silent reeling in of a really big fish.
Or like, move the lines out and everything. And like, these fish are huge. They're almost as big as me. And I won't let them like yell at me and do anything.
Yeah.
So we've been able to get in, and I'm almost five feet, but we've been able to get in fish almost as big as me. I've caught 4 lately.
I bet.
And
that's
with no
hilarious.
yelling. So that's like...
I'm picturing like mimes on a boat.
Oh
like.
well, you can talk, you just can't yell. Like, and you got to move lines around, you got to get lines in. I mean, there's a lot of chaos going in, but you have to do it like in a normal voice.
Yeah,
so,
got it.
Anyway,
nice. That's how you run a ship. I like it.
That's how I run a ship.
Nice.
Yeah. No,
all right. Well, I am so grateful to be here with Lanné, a longtime friend and colleague. So much love. Often referred in our circle as the Queen of LBE. And she just seems to be like the nucleus of this growing industry. I always say you don't really know LBE until you know Lanné.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. I am so grateful for all the cool stuff that we get to do together. You've seen LBE from like real estate feasibility to creative vision to board level strategy. From that vantage point, what do most people still most misunderstand about this space?
Yeah, so it's an interesting space right now that we're working in with what I'm calling now out-of-home entertainment, as opposed to location-based entertainment. Yeah, because the world's changed. I think we all know that, and everybody's trying to figure out on all different verticals, from whether it's brand activations, IPs, music, movies, Hollywood, streaming, YouTube's, all of it, right? Where everybody's just trying to figure out what to do, and it's really about getting somebody to come out of their house, off their couch, get off their screen, and come to a place to connect with another human. That's the basis of it, right?
Yes,
and so how are our cities being redefined right now?
Yep.
Because the real estate has pivoted and it has to change and it's not what it used to be. And what does that look like? And the biggest thing is we're bringing these cities back to life and redefining what these core of the urban core of downtowns are, is what's the business model behind it, right? Yeah. And then what you're doing in that 4-wall, or maybe it's not a 4-wall, maybe it's a park, maybe it's outside. Yeah. What you're doing in that space, but what is going to make it sustainable?
Sure, exactly.
Is it a pop-up? And if it's a pop-up, fine, be a pop-up. Go in there for 3 years until they figure out what to do with it. But if it's going to be there and it's a long-term deal, which is going to create value for the asset, that IP or original IP or thing that you are doing needs to be sustainable over a 10-year period of time.
Totally.
And so our big rule of thumb right now is build it once, where you can put that CapEx that you need it, but able to, be able to change it, make it episodic, be able to change the IP out, to rotate it and everything. And that's really what's going to create the value. And the return rate too is huge. Like the return rate of the beat back of the why you want to come back and do it again. Yes. Whether it's that emotional connection, that feeling, whether it's a new episode that came out that you're going to go back and see, whether you didn't get through there's 60 parts of a story, but you only got through 13 of those parts and you have to come back. And then the customer engagement with the whatever the brand, the IP is in interacting with the human that just left the experience of staying with that connection of what you felt along the way to also get you back. And so creating those all those different verticals to be able to create a solid business model to make sure it's going to be able to get the return. So and so the investors and the people that don't understand this get things that work. Right. Anytime something doesn't work, it's a black eye to the industry.
Exactly, and we're kind of coming out of a phase, which I think you're doing a good job of alluding to, which is like a lot of one-time visit experiences, right? Which are really exciting, but if you can't get people to come back numerous times, that's a hard long-term business model.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of money put into that. And so, reorienting the industry around how do we make these things sustainable long-term?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And data, right? All goes to data, know your customer, know where you're going and why. Like where does this thing that lives inside your head, where does it want to live in real life, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's a
where
great
is that
point.
going to be placed?
Yeah.
And it can't, and maybe, back in the day, it was like down old industrial part of town, and there wasn't an arts district yet, but it's turned into that. But that was kind of the journey along the way because it was fringe, and that's cool too. But that's not always a sustainable business model.
Yeah.
I mean, a few of those have worked.
Yeah.
You could probably put them on one hand.
Agreed.
But where if you go back to kind of real estate 101 in Maine and why there are super regional shopping malls back in the day, it was because that's where people went and their footfall, and people are going there to do a thing.
Yeah.
People aren't going there to buy a white t-shirt anymore, but people
Yeah.
are going there to gather, to human, to be together. And so again, and it goes along with food too. I think our relationship with food changed through the pandemic, where our food came to us.
Sure.
We no longer had to go out and get our food.
Which is a main thing where people connect.
Yeah,
right?
and so like now when you go out and everybody got to be a great cook, right? To
Sure.
stay at home.
Yeah,
So
totally.
now like when you go out and have a meal, you want to go have an experience and
Yeah.
a human connection with
Yeah.
people around a table and break bread together. And that's changed too. And that also, I think, fits into the out-of-home entertainment, LBE, with the food component to the whole connection thing of like something you can't get on a screen.
Totally.
You have to go to that place, to that spot to buy that piece of merch
Yeah.
for that time period
Totally.
to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big trend.
I'm going to pick up on something that you started, which is like, obviously you started on the real estate side, where spreadsheets and square footage were like the main nomenclature of your world, right? What was the moment that you realized that this like creative layer wasn't decoration, but it was leverage both for like the landlords who, I mean, we saw a lot of assets that were struggling, and so it was leverage both for the operator with the landlord and also for the landlord with the visitors that they're trying to attract.
Yeah, absolutely. So now in our digital world that we live in, we can track everything, right?
Yeah.
And so it's pretty available, public access, where you can look at taking place or data or whatever data platform you want to use and do a period of time and say, okay, at this period of time there was X amount of traffic at this place. Right?
Yeah.
You throw in a location-based entertainment with popular IP. You then go run that same data again, and you can see how many unique visitors came to that space.
Totally.
To come for that 6 month, whatever that run was, and you can see your day parts. You can see the age groups. You can see all the things and all the data of what that new visitor came there.
Yeah.
And so that new visitor is probably gonna, buy a coffee, maybe have a pretzel, maybe stop by and do the ancillary shopping, eat at the food, do the things, and we're able to quantify that now and saying, okay, this thing brought 33,000 people to this spot that never were there before.
Yeah.
And we have that data now.
Yeah, yeah.
So then you start to build a true financial model on that.
Totally. And that I think builds that confidence in the boardroom and on the creative team side as well, right?
Yeah.
It kind of helps everyone feel confident about the time, energy, and money that has to be invested into these projects because they're not cheap, right? When creative is introduced late, it kind of becomes like aesthetic. We were just talking about this with the studio takeovers. It kind of becomes like aesthetic. When it's introduced early, it becomes a core part of like the strategy of the development of the destination and the story and the vision that it wants to tell. How do you help developers and boards kind of internalize the difference and make sure that they are not making the mistake of introducing it too late in the cycle?
Yeah, so the easier the creative side can get onto it, the better. I found that as of late 2020, late 25, 26, that I'm almost having to reverse engineer how I used to do deals.
Sure.
Right? So everybody knew what, Apple is, Zara, whoever on the landlord side, you knew what that was. You knew what you were going to get that. What's the sales, what's the rent, what's the traffic, what's the da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
What is this? Working on some stuff right now where pretty high profile real estate, and the landlord we've socialized terms, so we kind of know where we are, we're ballparking it. But like, what is it? What's the concept? What's the concept?
Right.
Like, I can't tell you. And so I literally had to got in the space 7 times with my creative team and the IP owners, and would not give the landlord anything until we figured out we could do the space. We had to know we could do the space. So the full creative was done.
Yeah.
We did a full presentation to the landlord on the creative for this, and then the landlord was just like absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
And like, oh my God, it's the best thing I've ever seen. And I said, and then I say LOI to follow. So hit send, and then send the letter of intent off, right?
Yeah.
And so we've gotten, it's not just about the money and the square foot and what the rent is and what the TI package is and all the things that used to be at the top of the conversation.
Yes.
Now it's like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're changing this matrix on this block in the city.
And then how do we make that work?
Yeah.
Right? I think that's exactly, you nailed it, like the reframe of like how these places that were such nucleuses of the community and then kind of faded out as that.
Yeah.
And now like everyone's kind of yearning for that real connection because we have connection digitally, but everyone's exhausted of that, right? And so I think starting to view these real estate assets as that nucleus again and bringing it into core strategic and then figuring out the economics that work around it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're increasingly in rooms where capital, culture, and like community all kind of collide, right? I mean, like what are the smartest questions that boards are asking right now? That you've been sitting in on?
It's a tough one because I'm usually not the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's why people ask questions.
I mean, it's a new industry, right? Like I feel like I joke a lot, and what I say is that we're building the rocket ship while we're flying it.
Totally.
Right? Like all of this is new.
Yeah.
Everything I'm working on has never been done before.
Totally.
Right. And so where do you first it comes down to population and data and who's going to be there, who's coming.
Yep.
But it's again, it goes back to that sustainable business model, and I think that repeatability and that human connection of why that. And I found myself just gravitating more to like I'm gonna say the patient developers or patient money because this isn't a quick turnaround, right? This is going to be a long-term thing, and they have to understand the long-term goal. Yeah. And I'm trying to be very deliberate in stuff I'm doing that it is, a 30-year plan. It's not a 5-year plan. It's not a 10-year plan. Like, what is this city going to look like in 30 years, and how is all this going to be affected by what's happening with this one little block that I'm putting down, right? And so the data, I cannot. Zach and everything everybody else does.
Yes.
To back it up now, and we have that. Before we didn't have that. We had our census that came out once a year.
Totally.
We kind of knew some things here, there.
Your census and your census, where you'd like go and you'd be like, I think culturally this might land. I'm not sure. Yeah.
And then I do think the feeling, of the overall area and the space is really important too. And when you are working in, and I've watched this through different cities where some cities are just like each individual landlord is that, and that's all they care about. And then other cities, landlords have all pulled together. They've done a coalition, and they've been able to fix their streets, and they've been able to get back there. They've been able to set what the market is demanding for this to be there, and they've all set those levels of expectations. And it's really made a big. I mean, Lincoln Road has a whole coalition that has come together and said, this is what we're doing. Yeah. You look at Santa Monica, 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, you have all these different individual landlords that aren't coming together, that can't get out of their own way.
Yes, I know.
Coastals, right? Yeah. And so it's like, okay, it's time to come together. It's time to reframe things. It's time to relook at real estate. And it's just, it's painful. I mean, there's going to have to be like major write-downs, and there's so many CMBS loans that are coming due and the debt's bad. And people are looking to buy that debt, and they can buy it right so we can put the capital in to reframe the real estate with the right real estate deals to take it forward. Yeah. So a lot of that's happening right now, with what's going on in the studios, Hollywood and everything, reframing those large things to be purposeful, going forward in another direction. Totally. With these big, huge boxes with no columns and high ceilings and all the great things that all the creators want that don't exist, And then the other thing too, I do say, just to help with some of the pain on the CapEx, is if you're creative and designing for something and you want blue sky and you want 40-foot ceilings, those are unicorn spaces. Yep. Unless you can find a studio, which may be coming up. But design whatever you're doing to 12-foot 6 ceilings with 30-foot columns.
You're going to be able to scale a lot easier.
And you're going to be able to take all these boxes that are coming back. Totally. And you're hearing more.
You'll get a lot of support from landlords.
A lot of support, better deals. The landlord's going to be able to give you more tenant allowance for you to put into your concept. Yeah. For that space, because it doesn't need to be, totally recreated. Yeah, one question I want to pull out that you brought up in that is like, what is the market asking for, right? And like, start with that question and then kind of design backwards from that. Whereas it used to be like, we're going to go try it and we're not totally sure, but luckily like we can answer so many of those questions now. And so if you ask that question, let's go get that answer, and then you can kind of design backwards from that. And then the other big trend I'm seeing too is like, let's pop it up and tour it for a while. Let's like not go. And if it's major IP that's legacy, and it's gonna, you got brands behind you and money behind you, great, that's gonna be there forever. But if it's something that's new, pop it up and tour it and see where it works, and get your data if you don't know on that particular thing. Yeah. Don't plop it down and spend the crazy CapEx on it. Yeah, agreed.
Immersive, experiential, they get thrown around a lot. We're even throwing them around a lot in this interview.
What does it mean?
Yeah,
what
does it mean? And more, I think more importantly, in your view, what will actually define great out-of-home experience in 2026 and going forward, not just like a flashy, showy stuff?
I think it's a connection.
Yes.
I think the word storytelling is getting way overused now too, but and I think we're using that because as humans, as a human race, we all are just longing for a connection.
I couldn't agree more.
And I think we're all going back to what, if you look through time and how oral storytelling and everything, like along the way, right?
Totally.
It's about that connection. And I think that, I know when I see and do a lot of things, like I'm immersed all the time.
Totally.
But like to me, when I go do something and it resonates with me and it stays with me and I'm thinking about it after I leave it, and it had that emotional impact on me, or to take me back to, I like to say this a lot now, like I look at the world through the eyes of a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
With new and awe and great, and like, because we're redefining everything right now. And if I can be in an experience and I get taken back to little 5-year-old me sitting on a farm in the middle of nowhere, looking up at the sky, at the space, and thinking I want to be an astronaut when I grow up.
Yeah.
Like, to take yourself back to that child, or if you're spooky.
I got chills. All right.
Or to take yourself back to that spooky place of that scary thing under your bed, because or Jason Egan, again, like one of the best ones out there, but that stupid It thing in Vegas, like where's that clown? I'm still like scared of that clown. Like I can't look under my bed. Like what? Like those things stay with you. Yeah. And then the other thing for original IP that has been interesting to me, having worked with some of the greats out there that helped start all this with, Meow Wolf and all that stuff. When somebody says to me, they get out of something, they're so excited, and they're like, I can't explain it. You just got to go. Yeah, yeah. And then it's like, oh, I got to go.
Totally.
And so that just excitement when you feel it, that's what every experience should be when you leave.
Exactly.
I think after all these years, people are still talking about Sleep No More, right? Because it was so pushing forward in the immersive experiential thing, but it made you feel. It made you feel. And so, and you can have your, your tongue-in-cheek stuff to go in there and play your games and do your things and have a date night. And that's great, and those have their purposes. But I don't know that those are long-lasting and sustainable unless they change, because I think it's that just like, moment of whatever, or whatever moment that is that you're having, that's what's going to get you.
Yeah, like design around like universal human emotions, universal human aspirations, like these things that make us human, those are the things that sustain, right? And so I couldn't agree more. And I think you've touched on this one a couple times, but out-of-home entertainment doesn't just shape behavior, it shapes community, like at large. Yeah. How do you personally think about like this entire industry's sort of responsibility within the community as it grows?
Yeah, I think we're all responsible to each other, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we all have to, and that's one thing I love about the creative community coming from like the corporate world and stepping into this world, is there's such a collaboration to build and lift and share. Yeah. And to make sure that we're not making mistakes, people are doing it right, we're lifting everybody up, and even just the the organizations and the summits and the meetups that the creative community has in a very high level, from people that are doing the top things, from the theme parks all the way to the people that are maybe have their little haunted house in their local community of 3,000 people.
Totally.
I mean, we're all in the same row.
Totally.
Right? We're all talking about the same things, about what we're doing to support our community and where we are meeting our people. Yeah. But I think we all have a big responsibility just to hold a level of excellence and high standards. Yeah. And to keep pushing, and also to the pricing too. I will say, like, how much that ticket costs and what people's time is worth. And I know you've studied a lot with this in your world, but like, what is that, and where's that value per that market? And it's going to be different in every market of what somebody's being willing to spend, and it almost gets down to like per minute, right?
Totally.
I think it's like $1.81 per minute or something like that. You may have more data on that. Than I do,
that was pretty good. I like that.
You can fix me.
Totally.
You can fact check me on that. It wasn't
I like that. Yeah.
I haven't kept up with inflation. I was at one point $1.87 a minute, but like, what is that in that market, and where that pricing needs to be so people feel the value. Yep. Like, you should never like overvalue what your experience is. Because everybody, that you should have, when you leave there, you'd be like, I got my money's worth. You should never feel ripped off.
Right.
It. So
absolutely.
I do challenge creatives and business people to really think through that. And is it matching? Yeah.
What's a leadership decision you've seen made recently that has like unlocked like long-term value, not just like short-term flash in the pan excitement. Is there anything that has kind of stood out in
The ability to be flexible and change, like with something. I mean, that's a lot of the studios and everything that are working on stuff like, okay, we're going to run this for 2 years and then build it once.
Adapt it
because technology is going so fast. Where are we going to be in 3 years? I don't know. I mean, you know, I know we're Artemis going to the moon. Yay.
Yeah.
You know, hi Felix.
We're going to be robots that are interviewing.
Felix and Paul's
exactly.
on the manifesto, by the way. Their stuff's going. We're going to be filming on the moon.
That's amazing. Yeah.
But where are we? We don't know.
Right.
And so whatever is being built today, and if I'm an investor and I'm like, oh, I have, you know, a $10 billion fund, I'm going to go buy these assets. Like, I don't know.
Right.
And so how do you underwrite that? How do you look at that from an investment standpoint? And it's like, well, the adaptability of what you're putting in there to build it for 3, 5 years, 10 years, and change it, because it's not going to be the same. The world's moving way too fast.
Really good. Really good. I love that. 5 years from now, when we look back on this era of out-of-home entertainment, what do you hope the industry got right?
Connection.
Yeah.
Human connection.
Agreed.
And feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This all ties back to your tagline, which is?
Make the world a better place, one space at a time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with me. That was amazing. Oh. Awesome. And so I hope you got a lot out of that. Lanné knows exactly what she's talking about, and I'm so grateful to get to work with her, and more to come. So, cheers.